Hello everybody, I'm George from Ireland. So this is a video about Her Royal Highness Princess Meghan's latest speech attacking the status quo. So the Duchess of Sussex is in her new residence in California, living in a friend's house worth several $1 million they've lent her. Lucky her. Seems like the status quo has been so cruel to her, living in the lap of luxury despite not working. Anyway, so she delivered her latest communique, inveighing against the status quo. They seem to be filled with liberal left talking points. Now, I made this disclaimer in a previous video about Her Royal Highness. Does she have the right to form an opinion? Yes, certainly. Is she entitled to express that opinion? Yes, she is. Legally, morally, yes. Should she do so? I submit that she should not, because she's still in some sense a member of the British royal family. If you are Princess Meghan of the United Kingdom, then you are, because a prince and princess is of somewhere, like just Harry is Prince Harry of the United Kingdom. His name's actually Henry, but always known as Harry. So seem to be with liberal left talking points. Now, nothing wrong with her subscribing to those views. I actually share her views on a few things, like the environment, or a bit on BLM. Black people being murdered by the police and the police doing so with impunity. Is that horrific? Yes, it is. It's monstrous. And yeah, it ought to be ended, should have never have happened in the first instance. But as a member of the royal family, she's meant to be neutral. Now, I know they've given up their royal public duties. They're no longer cutting the ribbon at hospitals or visiting schools on behalf of the royal family. But she's still vice president of the Queen's Commonwealth Trust. Now, the Commonwealth is obviously not just about the UK, it's about 54 countries. So she wasn't crass enough to say vote for Joe Biden, or I support the Liberal Democrats, or whatever, or we have to have such and such a policy on climate change or racial equality, because that would be getting too much into the political battlefield. But it's really unmistakable which angle she was coming at these things from, and she was very open about her political views several years ago before she began her liaison with Prince Harry. And it's actually good that people should be politically engaged, trying to improve the world. And she goes on about the need to challenge politicians, CEOs, and so forth, make them uncomfortable. And these people are the status quo. So CEOs often tend to be a little bit right-wing, certainly on tax. They want to pay too much tax. They like economic inequality. They're doing very nicely. Thank you. Politicians, well, certainly the United States, could be Republicans and Democrats. That's it. I mean, even the most left-wing Democrats, not that left on a world scale. As I said, that most countries have one right-wing party and one left-wing party. The United States has got one right-wing party and one extremely right-wing party. So there is this rumor abroad that the Duchess of Sussex would like to be president of the United States one day. I don't know if that's true. People say that she got British citizenship. I don't think that's the case. You have to live there for 5 years. She only lived in the UK for about 3 years, if even that. And I don't think they fast-tracked in her case. I could be mistaken. Well, there may be no limit to her ambitions, and she's certainly blessed with a great deal of self-assurance. So she is boundless in her self-belief, and to some extent that's a good thing. Now, people who enter acting or the political forum tend to have a bit of vanity to them, goes with the territory. They need to believe themselves, otherwise they wouldn't do it. So a role model for girls. I don't think she's very suitable for various reasons. But, they wanted privacy, so be quiet, jog on, stop courting publicity all the time. And if they are part of the royal family, they're meant to be politically neutral, above the fray. And she's often complained that the royal family didn't sufficiently support her, that their policy is never explain, never apologise, would never complain. Just get on with it, bear yourself with as much dignity as you can muster. And she and her husband are so often guilty of indecorum. If they find these rules that intolerable, just renounce the title to live as private citizens. And by the way, they could give back all the taxpayers' money they got, when they were on the civil list. And some of it's already spent. All right, you could give back money to the value of. And she has got more public recognition than she could possibly have craved when she was an actress. She is 100 times more famous than when she was in Suits. Yeah, she was in a fairly successful drama for a while, but like how many princesses of the United Kingdom are there at the moment? Like 5? And how many African American princesses of the UK are there ever? Like 1. So she is mega famous. In 2019, she was the most Google search person on the planet out of 7 billion. So don't tell me she sacrificed her stellar theatrical career for the sake sake of love. I think what she really loves is all this recognition. Does she love her beau? Possibly she does, and her child. Doesn't have to be a contradiction there. But these two, they want it both ways. And Harry is more culpable than she is, because the Duke of Sussex, he knew the rules, he was born into it. On the other hand, he didn't have a choice unless he's going to completely abdicate and feel he's letting the side down. She did have a choice. She knew what she was getting herself into when she married at the age of 35. So they wanted maximum publicity, but to be taciturn about who their child's godparents were. This is a matter of public interest. Might be someone who's deeply unsuitable, uncontroversial. What have they chosen? The likes of Jeffrey Epstein come out? We have a right to know. We pay for this child. Even the date of birth, they were cagey about that, didn't do the usual photo call. So, the price you pay for all this adulation and all these people on minimum wage subsidizing your multi-billionaire-esque lifestyle is you don't have the privacy that everybody else has. So status quo, has life really been so unfair to her? I mean, she was born in the United States, the mightiest country in the world, overall the wealthiest country in the world. She's born into a fairly comfortable middle-class family. She was born quite good-looking. She certainly used sex appeal to advance herself. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, if she looked like the back of the bus, honestly, would she be got that far? Would you have got those roles? With Donald Trump, I know he's vile, but just occasionally the devil speaks true. He said looks count. Rightly or wrongly, they do in entertainment. She speaks the most widely understood language in the world, English. The status quo wasn't too bad for her there. Her father paid for her university, and on and on. Now, okay, you might say she's advocating on behalf of the needy. All right, if you want to help those who are impecunious or suffering injustice, give them your own money. Why didn't you do that? Adopt a child, something like that. Do real charity work. Don't just swan in as the belle of the ball, the cynosure of all eyes. Take all this kudos and then bugger off. Actually sacrifice. Actually get your hands dirty. And she doesn't like the way, as I say, the House of Windsor deals with the media, and she's wanted to get into a mud fight with the media. Not a good idea. We can't have the royal family's name dragged through the mire. Just rise above it. So she's heterosexual, and that status quo favours that. And until very recently, only straights could get married. She had no children until she was in her late 30s, because obviously women's rights in contraception in very developed countries allowed her to have these choices to delay maternity or prevent it altogether while still having intercourse. So I don't think that the status quo was quite so terrible for her. And as I say, she doesn't actually do anything for those who are really suffering. And that's true of other members of the royal family. But unlike her, they're not always morally grandstanding and being such Pharisees like the Duke and Duchess. And the royal family spoke up for her before she was even engaged, releasing press statements saying that she's being harassed, tell her to back off. If you don't want to be harassed, do not get into a relationship with this guy. You know it goes with the territory. Everybody's followed. Princess Diana was followed ruthlessly in 1980 before she even got engaged. Shy die. You want to